Just completed my book, so excited about that. So, just going through the polishing phase right now, but looking to have that completed very, very, very soon. And once we get through the polishing phase, then I'm going to lay the audio version down. So that's going to be an undertaking that in itself to basically go through the entire book and actually lay down an audio version and do all the edits and all of that. But thought I'd do a quick live here. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these from a car. Again, things have been very hectic. But real quick, I was just had something that just took place a few hours ago during my lunch, and I was having lunch, and I was trying to debate where I was going to go to, and just wasn't sure where I was going to eat at. So I decided to stay close, go to a restaurant, that's close to where I work at. And make a long story short, as I was eating, there was a table that was adjacent to where I sat, and I overheard them talking about the Spanish Inquisition. Right? They was referring to the territories of Spain and Portugal, and mind you, it was a whole group of them. It was some of our brothers and sisters, and also some Spanish as well. So they were making some, having some discussions on that, and I overheard them, and so I decided to, I was about to leave, and I saw that they had something else. When I say leave, the restaurant, they had something else I decided to get, and didn't know that they had there. And I overheard the gentleman speaking to the group and referred to an island, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking that they're referring to Sao Tome. Well, kind of find out, one of the brothers there was being, basically they were talking to him about Jamaica. And, given their views, what information they knew about Jamaica and its connection to the Spanish Inquisition. So when I chimed in, I asked them, I said, are you referring to the island of Sao Tome? They said, no, we're referring to Jamaica. I said, oh, yeah. I said, so Jamaica, I said, the first Negro slaves that landed in Jamaica was due to an insurrection that took place. The slaves overtook the slave ship, and they basically landed onto Jamaica. And I said those slaves were from Nigeria, and they were part of the Igbo. And they were like, "What?" They said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And one of the guys were from Jamaica, right? And so I said to him, I said, "Well, I thought you were, before you said Jamaica, I thought you was referring to St. Thomas, the original Sao Tome, that's just right off in West Africa, right off the gold or slave coast." And so I explained that to them. I said that's where, that was a Portuguese territory in which, slaves from the Spanish Inquisition. I said it was Negro slaves, not Caucasian slaves, Negro slaves from the Spanish Inquisition. They were sent to those territories, all throughout Africa and other places. And they were like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, the history is right there." And I said, just to give a little history of myself, I said my grandfather is Cuban. He's from Cubana, right? And I said that that's how I learned a lot about Cuba. I began to talk to them about Cuba, Havana, and sharing with them how Cuba is really filled with a lot of Yoruba. Some of you guys may not know that. So it's a huge group of, it's highly populated with the Yoruba tribe. So I explained that to them, right? And then we circled back to the Spanish Inquisition. So one of the Spanish guys actually looked like, I believe he was probably from South America, and he asked me some questions regarding South America, Brazil. And I said, yeah, one of the highest concentrations of Negroes outside of Africa is in Brazil. And I said, yeah, the Spanish Inquisition. I said, when you start understanding all of that, you'll see how all of that connects to that, you know. So, make a long story short, what was really blessed about it, because I had to get ready to run as well as they had to run as well. So what they pointed out was, I mean, what the question I got asked was, can you be here next Thursday for lunch? Because I'd like to know more about what you just pointed out. He said, I knew some stuff, but you know a lot more than what I thought I knew, you know. And so to make a long story short, uh, we're going to meet next Thursday, including the Spanish guys. It was like, you know, because I shared some things about, uh, um, you know, again about Portugal, some of the other islands, including the island that they know as St. Thomas, you know, as well as the Dominican Republic, you know. So I shared some helpful information to them. So all of them asked me if I could meet them next Thursday and have lunch with them because they want to ask more questions. And they said they have some religious questions too that they've been on the fence about. So why am I saying that, family? Man, when you just study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, workmen need not be ashamed, but rightly dividing the truth. And you will have a certain confidence about yourself. And you wouldn't have a issue with engaging in these type of conversations. Now, I didn't go into the conversation trying to cast anyone to hell or anything like that. It was just I heard them say something, and I just thought I'd enter into the conversation. Now, here, little did I know, next Thursday during my lunchtime, I'll be meeting up with these guys at the same restaurant and expounding more about the Spanish Inquisition, as well as talking to them more about the history and the influence and the impact of that in the Americas, as well as India, because I did mention India too, because they brought that up in conversation as well. Asked me a question about India, and I explained to them how, you know, you had Negroes that are Israelites that, you know, were that around the third century leaving or fled the Jerusalem area, part of the Roman thing that was going on, because the Roman invasion and wars and all that took, you know, it lasted to about the 5th century. And I said many of the slaves or the Israelites that was impacted by that fled that area and went to India. And I said, and later, when you get around the Spanish Inquisition, you know, the people that was doing the enslaving, they landed in India and began to introduce the caste system to India. Man, it was just really blessed. So nevertheless, family, I'm not trying to go geek mode on you guys. Just thought I'd just share with you guys that how important it is for you to study, how important for you to be ready at a moment's notice, because never in a million years I would have thought that me being so undecided and landing at this restaurant of all restaurants, you know, and all the things that led to it, like me leaving my wallet, had to run back upstairs in my building, get the wallet. So it limited how far I was going to go away from my workplace. And I ended up landing at that restaurant. And, you know, in a nutshell, now we will be having a conversation, you know, to continue to wake them up, you know, wake people up. So family, that's the life, man. When you truly say that you are an evangelist, you know, you like to evangelize, that has nothing to do with converting someone or trying to get someone into a religion. It's turning them back to the Most High. You know, for me, it was like, wow, I didn't look at it from a perspective of trying to win them to any ministry or religion. It was all about giving them the truth. And the impact in that is now, again, this whole group of people want me to come and talk more about it. So with that being said, family, I just want to say, you know, being at the right place at the right time and having the right spirit, that's the key. Not just being at the right place at the right time, but also having the right spirit, so that way the Most High can use you effectively and efficiently wherever He sends you. It shouldn't matter where He sends you, but you should be available and ready to really talk the word, to really have that moment like Philip had with the the eunuch, right? Remember the Ethiopian eunuch who was reading out of the book of Isaiah and had problems with understanding what he read, and Philip was in a mindset that he was going to speak to a particular group of people, which was a large group of people, and he got redirected just to talk to one person. See, sometimes we can get so tunnel vision and thinking that things have to go a certain way. We have to be in front of a certain platform where the Most High wants you to speak to tens of thousands of people, that mega mindset, when actually he could redirect you just to go talk to one person. And that one person can say, what must I do to be baptized, or can I be baptized right now? Or you may hear a conversation and you hear that person like, hey, I'm not understanding what this passage is saying about X, Y, Z. So with that being said, like I said, I just wanted to just talk to you guys briefly, and I hope this helps you guys, any one of you guys that may be on the fence, like how, like probably how I was trying to figure out, what you should do at a certain moment, not realizing the Most High could be setting you up to cross paths with someone else that may either have something to share with you or you to share with them. So always be open and be ready at a moment's notice. So with that being said, family, love you guys. Got to give it a run here, but I just thought I'd just take a moment to just talk to you guys about my encounter that I had a few hours ago, and just to encourage you guys. And with that being said, also, for those that are interested in our Bible study, or should we say life lessons, that's what we call our Bible study, every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern time, and we're having a great time with that. Shoot me an email at wearewokenow@gmail.com if you're interested in being part of our Bible study, and just especially if you're not connected to any ministry. This for those that really don't have a ministry that you're connected to, you may feel isolated. So I want to extend that invitation to you, as well as those that want to participate in our upcoming feast days coming up in October, Feast of Tabernacles, and we rented a campground because the property is not going to be ready by then. Even though some things are really some great things are taking place with that. Moving forward, we almost have this the political side of getting this permit out the way, so then we can start moving forward and complete, with phase one. But with that being said, if any of you guys are interested in honor feast days, or you just want to come by and just honor Shabbat with us, shoot me an email. We'll get you the information. But with that being said, be encouraged, family. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.